I just want to say hello. It's so great to see everybody. I haven't seen so many of you just because of COVID. And I just want to start off. When I read Christina's email that said, since you're an expert, we'd love to have you do gardening. And my thought in my head was, I would not call myself an expert, but yes, I'd be happy to do it. And she responded with such excitement. And I was like, what is going on? And I looked at my email and I forgot to put the N''T. So it said, yes, I would call myself an expert. I was like, okay, I'm in. So here I am. And I just want to let you know, I noticed there are several great gardeners on this group here. So feel free to chime in. I think the thing that really inspires me regarding gardening is gardening from seeds. And I want to share why that is for me. So I think, first of all, in today's world, it's very, very fast. Everything's very fast, very immediately. And when you garden from seed, it reminds me a lot of what it is to be an entrepreneur, because I have a lot of ideas and you always have to take that first action to get that idea going, which is similar to putting the seed in the ground. Once you put the seed in the ground, you take it out of the packet, put it in the ground, it's gonna start growing. Now, you might, a lot of times you have to put like a few different seeds in the same little hole there, and then all three will sprout, just like a lot of your entrepreneurial ideas. And eventually you have to pick just one of them because they can't all grow in that same space. And then just like any idea, you have to provide the appropriate conditions over time for that plant to grow. You know, it's not a lot of work, but you know, you got to have sunlight, you got to have air, you got to have some water. And then after a few months, you get this little plant that you can usually buy at the gardening store. And that's what most people do, and they put it in the ground. But for me, that's like 85% of the work. Because once it gets there, it usually goes boom, and it produces the fruit, the flower. And so I like doing that with my kids, so they're in reality about what it takes to produce something over time. And I also like the failure of it. They see when it doesn't work. So regarding seeds, that's why I like doing seeds. Now let's talk about, okay, so my technique regarding gardening is I just try things. The first time I ever gardened, I bought the seeds, I put them in the ground. It grew, like nothing grew. The little carrots were tiny, tiny. And it left me with the question like, what happened? And that's what really had me start thinking about, okay, so I wonder if what do I need to do with the soil? Is it in the right place? Do I need more water? But actually, and those were all true too. But what really surprised me is when I actually turned the seed packet over, there's tons of instructions here, tons. If you just read the back of your seed packet, every answer is on the back. It's great practice for reading with your kids. In fact, when I did gardening at the school, I just told the kids, read the back of the seed packet. A side note, as I'm working on my game, I've been working super hard on these instructions. You have no idea how many multiple thousands of hours I've worked on these instructions. And I watch people not read the instructions on a regular basis. I'm like, you're killing me. So my number one tip in gardening, read the instructions. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so now we got to talk about soil. Okay, so, oh wait, you should pick a place that has sunlight. Okay, if you're gonna grow veggies, you need about 6 to 8 hours of sunlight. You can't put it underneath the tree. You need some sunlight for those veggies. If you have, you know, if you don't have anything like any soil, you can just go to the store, to Buchanan's. I like Buchanan's, and you can get a bag of great soil, get some compost, mix it together, and that could be your starter. Or you could be, you know, that's how you want to mix some compost in it. And think of soil like the food that your plants need. So if you feed your kids crappy food, like donuts, I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't, okay? Like I feed my kids some crappy food from time to time, but I try to think about feeding them vegetables, like eat your broccoli, because I want them to have a good, you know, healthy body. And so the same thing with your soil. If you deplete it, it's not going to be able to produce the veggies you want. Does that, okay, so that's soil. Let's see here. You can also amend your soil with, it's called microlife. And then let me think about one other thing. Oh, you guys might not do this, but I personally like to order my soil in cubic yards. I get it delivered through a dump truck and dropped on my driveway from Nature's Way. And I just call, and I'll put the resources here in the chat in here a second. And they just dump it on my driveway, and then I use it throughout my yard, and it's a lot cheaper that way. You can do your mulch that way. Yeah. Okay, now I'm trying to think what else I need to say about this. Okay, now here's the last thing I want to say. Really, I think you need to be thinking about, I mean, you got to be thinking about your why. Why do you have a garden? I mean, is it to impress the neighbors? Is it, you know, I have a friend, she just loves butterflies. So she's just saving the butterflies all the time. That is her why. For me, my garden is, my why is partially to instill work ethic in my kids. I really believe in chores. I'm like, do the dishes. I don't know about you guys. I'm like, take out the trash. Make your own lunchbox, for God's sakes. I send them to school without food all the time. Okay, but also it's a canvas for me, and I view it as art. And so I'm really not too upset about the freeze because it's created it cleared out the canvas for me. And one of the things I'm really looking forward to is really creating a landscape of more native plants and native grasses where I don't have to cut the grass and it can be more natural looking. A few years ago, I actually seeded my whole backyard and front yard with wildflowers, and it was awesome. One, I didn't have to cut the grass for like 6 months. And they grew so tall, and it was just this whole yard, like just so many different beautiful colors. And so for me, that's what a garden's for. It's a piece of canvas, and you just try out new things and have fun with it. All right, I think that's all I got. Let me hear, if you guys could just take yourself off mute and just kind of yell out your questions, because I'm not, I mean, I can read clearly, but I'm a little nervous and it's hard to read the tiny text. So who wants to go first? Just yell it out.
That's why we have Christina. She's the question reader.
Oh, come on. Feel free, Christina. We're all capable. All right. Let's see. Okay, Christina, read the questions.
All right. First question from Sandra. You mentioned 6 to 8 hours of sunlight. Should herbs have that much sunlight?
Ooh, I have no idea. I don't usually do herbs, but yeah, I don't know that answer. But I love the question. It's great. Maybe somebody else on here. I think I saw Tamara Townsend on here. She might know.
Maybe I should read the back of the instructions.
Yeah. You know who really knows? I'll tell you, I went to Buchanan's today, and there's a guy there. How was his name? I think it was Larry. And he was like, he had all of the answers. Okay, well, wait, let me tell you this. Lavender, that one needs more dry soil, and it needs a lot of sunlight. Cilantro is kind of a winter herb. Mint, you should put it in a pot, and it likes more shade. And that's what the guy told me.
So mentioning pots, Carlin has asked, do you grow in deep, rich soil containers or in the actual ground?
My beds are raised. I hear Houston doesn't really have that great of soil. It's usually like, I guess, clayish or something like that. So mine are raised up. And in the deeper, like for example, if you want carrots and beets, you need the soil to be that deep, right? But for example, lettuce is not very deep. So you don't need it that deep.
So do you raise them up with like brick mortar around, or how do you raise it?
I hired somebody to build some beds for me.
Okay.
But I think there's probably a variety of ways to do it. When I went to Buchanan's, they did have some things there that you could buy to create it.
All right, I'm gonna go to Maura. Maura, do you want to read your question?
Oh, come on, Maura, read your question.
My question is that I've tried to like gardening so many times and I don't like it, but I want to. So what would you say is a rewarding plant to grow? Like a gateway drug to get gardening?
Wait, why don't you like gardening?
I'd never get into it. It's hot, it's sweaty, my hands are dirty, that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. A plant to grow. Basil is pretty easy to grow and it loves the heat. I mean, and you can have basil, like pesto, I don't know about all year round, but you can have a lot of pesto if you just do basil. It's easy. And then my mom always said zinnias are super easy to grow from seed and you'll produce tons of flowers, cut flowers all summer long. You got to cut them so they keep producing. And then you might just not like gardening. I just want to be honest.
Basil and zinnias, got it.
I just got to let you know.
Okay, so
for you. You might like, the one I really, really love to plant every year is those big sunflowers. They're super fun to see them bloom.
Yeah.
And really, you just got to put it in the ground. That's it.
Okay, we're moving on. Ben is asking, we're talking about starting a veggie patch with the kids this summer. What are some easy foolproof options that you would recommend for kids to get some early wins so they want more gardening? And have you spliced anything interesting? We have friends who grew tomatoes near jalapenos and the tomatoes took on some of the jalapeno spice. Tomapinos, anybody?
Okay, so first of all, I recommend you start now. Because this is really the season to start gardening in Houston. Once you get to the summer, that's our dead season. So I recommend you just start this weekend, get your stuff together and just start. About splicing, I've never done splicing. And that's my recommendation. Yeah, and I would do cherry tomatoes because usually the big tomatoes, the big worms come and eat them. Cherry tomatoes, they produce really fast, a lot. And they're delicious. And yeah, that's my recommendation. Thank you for your question.
So Gabriel is asking about the gardening program at Post Oak. And if so, how do we get involved? So you and Cheryl Abrahams have done a lot of work on our elementary gardens. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I don't actually know what what Post Oak is doing right now, but when they first got the gardens put in, I found that I was volunteering for my daughter's class and then my son's class. And I just thought, while I'm out there, we'll just get a parent from each class to volunteer and come like once every other week. And we just help the kids put the stuff in the ground. And that I found that really worked. So we had a parent from each classroom do that. And yeah, so I don't really know what we're doing right now.
Well, that'll be the first thing that happens when we get parent volunteers back is outside parent volunteers. So
yeah,
soon, very soon.
We really had a great time doing it, to be honest. It was, it was fun to be outside. It was fun to be with the kids. They were excited about it. We had some failures. That's normal. We had some successes.
You have lots of sunflowers out there. You had some big, beautiful sunflowers out there.
Yeah, I did. Actually, I have one funny story. I probably shouldn't tell you this story. But when I was I think it was in Tamara Townsend's class, and that year I to put some poppies in my yard. I was like, yeah, poppy seeds, that sounds great. And so I was like, I'll put some poppy seeds in the posto garden here, you know, and the kids were like trying the veggie or the plants. And I was like, oh, maybe that is not a good idea. Like, so anyhow, not supposed to tell you guys that.
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear any of that.
You're horrified. But I learned, Mara, I learned only edible plants.